Hello there, it's Carly with the Expat Focus podcast. Where are you spending your coronavirus lockdown? Are you in a densely populated city, a smaller town where social distancing is made that bit easier? Are you spending this time away from where you'd normally call home? Maybe you're on your own property in the countryside with not a soul in sight. Danish expat Christian and his young family are spending their isolation time at home in St Barts, a small French island in the Caribbean. In this episode, Christian explains how they got there and what lockdown life is like on a 25 square kilometre island with a pretty small population, only one supermarket, and currently no swimming allowed. You'll also find out why he recommends approaching this time at home like you're on a really long flight. Christian, you're originally from Denmark. How did you and your family end up on an island in the Caribbean?
Good question. I've been training jiu-jitsu for 20 years, teaching a lot, and there was a point in 2011 where I did a round-the-world trip for 6 months, and when I came back home, I wrote a book about it. And a while after publishing the book, someone just randomly emailed me. I remember I was in my couch in Copenhagen on my laptop. Someone emailed me and said, "Hey, my name is blah blah blah. I live in St Barts and just finished your book. I just put it down, and we're a small academy with just like 5 members, and we have no one to teach here. So I was wondering if you wanted to come over for a few weeks to teach jiu-jitsu." And I was like, "Where on earth is St Barts?" It's like I never heard about it before, so I just assumed it was like a city in France or something. But looked it up, and it was a small French island in the Caribbean, and never heard about it before. But I was like, hell yeah, I'll go. So I went here for 2 weeks or something to teach a small group, and made some good friends here, and really enjoyed it, obviously. And then I kind of came back here every winter to teach for a few weeks, and I just felt more and more like, when I came back, it didn't feel like I was going on holiday, more like I was back to a place that I knew. And I think when I was here for the third time or something, it was a point in my life where I had kind of purposely downsized my life a little bit. I had sold off my business, and I just kind of cut down on everything I owned. I owned very few things. It was like a bit of clothes and a laptop, pretty much. I cut the ties to my business. I was just teaching there, like as an employee. I think I'd kind of set myself up for just being flexible, just in case something happened. I got some opportunity. I didn't want to be stuck, just in case something dumped in my lap. And more or less unconsciously, kind of prepared myself for I don't know, if something offered itself. I didn't want to be tied down. So I think I was here the third year, and I was sitting in the airport with a few of my friends here and waiting for the plane. And I remember I just said, like, if you guys hear about like an apartment or something, let me know, just in case, because it's absolutely impossible to get an apartment here. That's the thing about living here is finding a job is very easy, but finding a place to live is nearly impossible.
That's really interesting. Why is that the case?
It is the case. Let me get back to that once I finish this. This thing it's the so anyway. So I went home, and then like 4 days later, I got an email saying, "Okay, we have an apartment, so you just have to say yes now, or it's gone." And that was a little bit nerve-wracking because my girlfriend was pregnant, and it's a big decision, to leave country. And but luckily it's French territory, so being a European Union citizen, I didn't need any permission or anything to move here. So that was the easy part, but decision was the difficult part. So, But anyway, we thought about it for a little bit and decided that the deciding factor was that if we didn't do it, then we would always be thinking like, what if, like, how would it have been to if the kids were growing up in the Caribbean, or, what if we lived there? I would have talked about that for my whole life, and my kids would have hated me for that. They would hear that story all the time. Oh, you could have lived in the Caribbean.
Yeah, it's like saying, they had an offer to live in Disneyland or something.
Something like that. Yeah. So anyway, we took the chance, and I spent like 10 months on getting everything ready, selling everything, cleaning out a fifth floor loft with no elevator, on my own, with stuff that's been collected there for like 20 years in an apartment. So yeah, and that was it. And we just went here, and I think the immediate thought was that it could be maybe 6 months or maybe even 1 year or something. Could have been just a long holiday, but here we are 3.5 years later. So
I've read that St Barts is a favourite among the rich and famous. Can I assume you're in this club, or are you among those mortals that just finds another way to get there?
Well, on the outside, it's definitely like a rich and famous island. It's tourism. It's based purely on luxury tourism. The hotels are easy, like €1,000 a night, or even 10, 20, 30,000 euros a night. So the average tourist is like above 40 and very wealthy usually. I mean, we have no backpackers, no young people come here just for tourism. But the local community, I mean, the locals are mainly normal, I would say, middle class, normal jobs. It's not like champagne every day. It's just like completely normal people living normal lives. A small island is only 9,000 people, but they still need like teachers and construction workers and supermarket staff, and so in that sense, life here is very normal. It's nothing out of the ordinary, even though it might look like that if you just look in the magazines or on Instagram or something. But that's just the average tourist.
You do have a profile within the martial arts community, though, and it's how I saw your social media post about the official, in inverted commas, St Barts quarantine kit for coronavirus of, sparkling wine, foie gras, baguettes, cigarettes. So I'm curious, what sort of coronavirus crisis measures are in place there at the moment?
They're just following the directions from France. So we're on the same lockdown as you, I think. Yeah, no gathering, no going out of the house unless it's for work or buying groceries. You can do exercise near your house, short exercises near your house. So luckily I live right by the beach, so I can go there a little bit. That's it.
And in the day before France imposed its lockdown, we saw lots of Parisians rushing for the trains to get to holiday and, family homes in other parts of the country. Did the island see a similar mass exodus or a stack of people arriving?
There's only 9,000 people here, so it's not that many people going in or out. But I think obviously, I know I have some friends, they had made sure their kids flew home, and I think people want to be here more than anywhere else, really. I mean, if lockdown and isolation works here, then it's a very small place to keep track of. It's not like there's a million people who can infect each other. I think we had like one case during Carnival, which is like more than a month ago or something, and he was put in isolation in his home. And that was it. Then nothing else happened. Then 2 people came back a few weeks ago from a cruise, 2 locals who were tested positive, and they're in the house. And we haven't had any more official cases since. They don't test a lot, like most places at this point. So we don't know. But at least there's no one in the hospital or anything. So that's kind of a good sign. But I think everyone here is, at least me and people I know, are kind of glad to be here because it's super small, and they cut off all all traffic. There's no one going in or out. I assume, unless it's like for emergencies. So there's just water around us, and the virus can't really come or go at this point. And I think the few people that come in are put in like super strict quarantine. At least that's what they say. So I hope that's true. But so far so good.
So how are you getting access to things like groceries and items that would normally be flown or shipped in?
There's no change there. I mean, the cargo ships are still coming in with the groceries and stuff, but it's just you can't come or go unless you have like special permission.
So you're not experiencing the great toilet paper shortage of 2020?
No, I just sent my friend a picture from the supermarket. There's lots of toilet paper here. And they also just opened a new supermarket, which is like a really big thing on the island because there's pretty much just one supermarket, and they just like opened a new. They built a new one and closed the old one, which was terribly small. So we have a very not large, but for the island, very large and modern feeling supermarket, and they apparently have like a really big new storage. So they have there's no shortage of anything at this point.
And how have local businesses been coping with the shutdown? Here in France, only essential services are allowed to operate. Is it the same in St Barts, or it sounds like the cases there are so low that maybe the measures aren't so strict?
No, it's the exact same. So everything is closed. So, and you also need the written certificate to leave the house, and the police are patrolling to make sure people are not like on the beach is swimming and stuff. They did ban swimming in the ocean, so there was a big French people to complain. Yeah, French people like to complain, so there was a lot of complaining right there. Yeah, that's banned. That's really a shame because that's one thing that can really keep you sane here. You can go for a swim usually, but yeah, that's banned. So now we're gonna have to walk on the beach or run or something.
Are they worried about the virus being exacerbated in water, or is it just to make sure they know where people are?
I think it is. If you're allowed to swim, then more people won't hang out on the beach. And when they hang out on the beach,
Right.
they always meet their
Congregate.
friends. It's a very small place, and you can't go anywhere for 2 minutes without running into someone you know. So if everybody is like, okay, you're going to be stuck in your house, but you can go for a swim, then everybody's going to go for a swim, and the beaches are going to be full. So I think that's why they made that rule.
Christian, across Europe, we're seeing nightly 8 p.m. gatherings at windows and on balconies to cheer for the healthcare workers. People are playing instruments, they're leading group fitness classes. Is that community spirit being shown on St Barts as well?
No, not really. And I haven't seen anything at least, but I mean, we don't have there's no apartment buildings here or anything like that. So we're kind of spread out in the hills anyway. I don't think you could, I don't know, if I shouted out my window, not many people would hear me. So maybe that's why.
And how are you planning to spend the coming week or weeks in isolation?
Well, I have 2 little kids, so they're home 24/7, and so I have my hands full. I have my own job that I'm trying to do, and 2 kids homeschooling in French, which I don't speak. So I don't really have a minute to spare of the day, as for now. And I think I just personally, I just think about this as like a really long flight. If you take a really long flight, don't think too much about it. Just like watch a few movies, take a few naps. Don't look at the flight map. That's the worst thing you can do. Then it feels like it's forever, right? So we just kind of go with the flow, and I guess one day it's over and we're back to normal.
That's almost it for this episode. One thing Christian mentioned at the start of our chat that we didn't get back to is why finding an apartment in St Barts is so impossible. Christian tells me it's due to a few reasons. There's a housing shortage on the island with no room to build anything, very strict construction rules. Apparently nothing can be built that is higher than a palm tree, and the big hotels are snapping up rentals for their staff. Christian says there's also the fact that St Barts is a very exclusive, expensive island, with most housing listed on Airbnb, in non-pandemic times at least, for an average €1,000 a night. All of the above means that regular, in inverted commas, people only have access to a small portion of the housing market. The smallest apartments sell for at least 1 million euros, according to Christian. To buy a villa in St Barts, you're looking at more like 10 to 60 million. Those that are building new housing on the island are focusing on that luxury market rather than a 3,000 euros a month rental return. If you have any questions for Christian or want to share your own experience of living in an island paradise, head over to expatfocus.com, follow the links to our forums or Facebook groups. If you liked this episode, you might also like my interview with Ian Usher, who lived off the grid on his very own island off the coast of Panama. Please remember to subscribe to the show, rate us, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We're at Expat Focus. And I'll catch you next time.